The Beverly Council on Aging welcomes you to our program, Livin' the Good Life, designed to explore our beautiful city and the world around us.
Hello, I'm Camella Viteritti, and this is Living the Good Life. And today we have the honor of speaking with Linda Anderson-Mercier. It's kind of a mouthful. It's almost worse than Camella Viteritti. Linda is the Beverly Volunteer of the Year, and she has an extensive background in higher education, which I'd like to talk about before we get into what you've been actually volunteering. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I came to Beverly after graduating from Boston University. My home is really out in Michigan, and I majored in physical education and recreation, and joined the faculty at Endicott College, Endicott Junior College. It was all women when I was there. And I spent 18 years there, and then went on and spent another 20 years in higher education administration in 5 other institutions, in admissions, financial aid. And then I went back to Endicott after my husband passed away, and spent another 3 years as Associate Director of Admissions of Alumni Relations, and worked specifically with the 18 classes that I had when I was there as on the faculty in physical education.
So you must see a lot of change since you started, when it was an all-girls program, and now present day.
Dr. Welly has done a magnificent job with his administrative team and faculty in building what really is a dynamic institution. And it's wonderful to see it as a co-ed institution.
Yeah. I've gone over there to several of their programs, and I'm very impressed. And some of them have been free to the public, and very, very good performances.
Yes.
Presently, you preside on several boards of directors. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I am president of the River House shelter in Beverly, and I'm the president of that board, and I've been involved with the shelter since its creation back in the late 1990s. I also serve on the Beverly Community Council here in Beverly, and also on the St. Mary's Parish Council. I'm chairman of the council, and serve also on the North Shore Community Development Board. And we used to be in Beverly, but we are now in Salem, and doing great work in building affordable housing to accommodate the needs of families throughout really the North Shore. As a matter of fact, we rebuilt the Gloucester Crossing area.
Really?
So the Holcroft Park development there was really a creation that we did. And we partnered with the Y to perform the management services for the affordable housing units there. So
How
those,
is the River House working out? Is that, it looks like it's an active community over there.
yes, its focus is to provide shelter as well as opportunity. So we have case managers that work one-on-one with the gentleman
Oh,
and get them lined up with the appropriate services to work through their issues. We've had probably close to 96 different gentlemen with us all throughout
is it
2013.
strictly male?
It's all
It's
men.
in a male population.
Right.
I see.
And we have 3 floors. Up on the top floor, we have 5 single units up there. And to get to the upstairs, you have to have been homeless sometime in your life. And those gentlemen do pay some rent to live there.
Oh, okay.
And I think the really great opportunity that River House provides is through the case managers. As I say, they worked one-on-one with the gentleman. It's really getting them to the point where they can move out and that find jobs and really become a vital part of the community. I know they've worked recently with Beverly Main Streets in some of the summer events.
Oh.
They were part of the clean team.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, they're really proud to be part of their community.
The community. I think
Right.
that's important, that we all try to do something for our community. When did you start your volunteer career?
Oh, my.
I mean, with all your expertise in education, you could have probably gotten a job, but you chose to become a volunteer and give back to the community.
Well, it really started back at Endicott. Dr. Tupper, who was the president of the institution, as well as the founder of the institution, she and Dr. Bierko, she called me to her office one day and she said, "Linda, I need you to serve on the Visiting Nurse Association." And she said, you can benefit greatly from that because of physical education, and also be a service to the community and represent the college. And so I said, sure, why not?
Yeah.
So that was really it.
Right, how could you not, right? After being such a loyal employee.
And then my second stint was, I was president of the Beverly Parks and Recreation Commission for a few years too. So I feel that I really took my position really and used it in the community, and that was really how it really kicked off.
Right. Well, it sounds like you have so much to offer in the community, and that makes me think about people who maybe would like to volunteer and feel like they don't have anything to offer or to contribute. What do you say to that? What do you say to those people that you know, would like to, but they hesitate? You know, I mean,
well,
it's not so scary, right?
It's
I'm a volunteer. Here I am.
Definitely. Yes, you're here doing the show.
This is a volunteer.
I think there are quite a few things that...
And this is quite scary, too.
To tell you the truth, I think volunteering, you bring fun and fulfillment to your own life.
Yeah.
No matter what you volunteer in. Definitely. It connects you with other people.
Right.
It also...
And in our senior years, that's very important.
Oh,
as opposed to sitting at home and, I mean, not that all seniors sit at home by any stretch of the imagination, but I too lost my husband, and I didn't feel like I wanted to go back to work necessarily, but I chose to volunteer, and I've met some wonderful people.
Oh, yes, you do. And I think, you develop friendships as well as fellowship.
Right.
And those are, I think are and it also allows you to be part of a team. For example,
Right.
the team that's here today,
Exactly.
recording this show.
Right.
So I think those are all good reasons
Right.
why to volunteer. Let me talk a little bit about why I think young people volunteer.
Okay.
Because most colleges as well as high schools do have a community service requirement.
Okay.
And you say, wow. And they are in their community. As a matter of fact, we've had some of the high school students come to the shelter, and they were responsible for some of the painting on the inside of the building.
Is that right?
So, I think they many times can learn new skills. If they're at the point they're trying to decide, what am I going to major in when I go to college?
That's an excellent way to put yourself in an environment
Right.
through volunteering that you.
Right. It's a good way to test some career options through volunteering, as well as it's an opportunity to give back to the community.
Right. And the great thing about volunteering is that it's not like it's a job where you feel like, oh, I committed myself to this, and although there is commitment in volunteering, but there's no, stigmatism to resigning.
Right.
You have chosen this to do in your spare time, and if it doesn't, sometimes your life changes, it doesn't work out for you anymore, and then you have to make that realization.
Right. We've had the football team at the high school come and do some volunteer work at at River House, as well as we've had the football team also from Endicott College
Wow.
has come and done some volunteer work at
That's
River
great.
House too. I think working in that kind of an environment is an eye-opening experience.
Oh yes, yes. I've done some training in recovery, and it takes special people
Oh,
to
yes.
do that work.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
So I think, young people are as important to volunteering as well as all people are.
Right. That's so true. You need all age groups to
yes.
fill out the picture and
Right.
give it balance. And the other thing I want to talk about is that I think that kudos to Beverly for putting out this event, a senior day for the seniors, zeroing in or giving accolades to one specific person for their acknowledging all the work that they've done. And a lot of times these days the seniors kind of fall to the, to the background, and it's a good way. We still have a lot to offer.
Oh, we do. We're a tremendous
Given the wealth of
resource
experience.
and wealth of experiences.
Right.
I think personally, I would challenge everyone to speak to one person every day in their life that they've never met.
Yeah.
And it just may be that you're the only person that acknowledged
Yeah,
him
that
and
person.
smile.
Right. Very good point.
It happens to me every day. I go down to the corner store to buy the newspaper, and it seems
Yeah.
like somebody always speaks to me,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a little conversation. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, as I say, you may be the only person that acknowledged and actually spoke to that person.
That's very true.
And what an uplifting experience
very true.
they have for that day, and you bring joy to them.
That's very true.
Right.
I know we have a very good group of people here. I'm very happy that this was one of my volunteer choices. And I can only think of positive experiences that have come out of volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike working, however, but it's done a lot for me as a
Right.
widow, and someone that has a lot of energy, and you don't realize how much you have to give until you start experimenting with that.
That's right.
And it does take a little bit of a push. You kind of have to push yourself. I know I did.
Right.
I was very intimidated by doing this because of the technology and so forth. But I had to give myself a little push. And you give back and you receive, I
Right.
think.
You absolutely do.
And it's a win-win situation.
Right. Actually, I currently serve on 8 different boards.
I know.
People say to me, Linda, how do you
do
fit
that?
all this together?
Yeah.
Well, I say it's like a puzzle. It meets not every week. Luckily, it works, and
Right.
I feel that I'm using my educational
Right,
skills
you are.
as well as leadership
You
skills.
most certainly are.
Because when I was in financial aid administration, I was president of our Massachusetts Association,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was president of the Eastern Association, and that was 11 states, Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands.
Wow.
And I also served on the national board. So it was a way to, kind of volunteer, although it was a professional opportunity that I had. But I do remember, I come from a family of educators.
Okay.
My mother taught, she taught high school, shorthand and typing.
Mm-hmm.
Which they don't teach anymore.
No, they don't.
We're now technology driven.
That technology is passe.
And my sister, she taught elementary school, 2nd grade. She taught all the grades, but most often 2nd grade. And my brother, he taught in a technical school. So I added up one time, how many years have all of us given? And it was 115.
Wow.
So that's...
And how could you keep that, from flourishing through volunteering?
Well, this is it.
How could you, all of a sudden, because your career is, because you retired, how could you stop there when you have all of this wealth of information and experience to still contribute?
Well, that's absolutely
I'm
true.
sure you've made a very big difference in a lot of people's lives, Linda.
Well, I try to do
try,
that every day.
Could you talk a little bit about what's required of being on a board? I sat on one board for a short period of time, and I can't remember where that led to or didn't lead to, but it was very interesting sitting on a board.
Well, it is.
Do you get to make decisions? How does that?
Well, the responsibilities of I sit most of the boards I sit on are nonprofit boards.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when you sit on the board, you always have fiduciary responsibility, meaning that you're there. Part of your job as a board member is to make sure that the organization is financially viable
okay.
and continues to be, so it can offer its services.
We can keep going.
Right. You go through an orientation to the board where you talk about the mission, the various committees, and it's kind of a expectation that every board member should serve on at least one committee. Gee, when I think about that.
How often do you meet with?
Well, you meet
Because I know you're on quite a few boards, so you could be out every night of the week.
Well, some of them meet at 7:30 in the morning. Some of them meet during the day or, in the evening. I find that the experience with boards it's another way to use your leadership skills.
Right.
Like I'm the president of 2 boards and the clerk of 2 boards. So it's in bringing people along. As you say, it may be the first board they've ever sat on.
Right.
But I think it really goes back to orientation. We also have mentors. So a board member is a mentor to a new board member.
I see.
And,
So that would help tremendously for people who are doing this for the first time.
Oh,
They're
definitely.
kind of brought along.
Right. And I think, you hope that you are providing opportunity for them to assume leadership, in the organization. I've been the clerk of one board for 10 years, and I'm always saying, this is not a lifetime appointment, I hope. But you do it so well. Well, thank you for the compliment, but we need to think about new people and nurture them and bring them along.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's, another benefit of being on a board.
Right.
But you have to find the right board and be passionate about the mission.
You have to have
and
an
the work.
interest.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't volunteer just for the sake of, volunteering. I have to be interested. I have to believe in the organization. I was a communications major, and I have to say I really didn't do too much with it, and here I am doing something with it as a volunteer.
Sure.
So, and that makes me feel good.
Sure.
That you can apply anything. I mean, and sometimes you don't realize what you have until you get out there and you start speaking with other people, and then, I remember I used to do that. Or you could pull something from the background, the archives of your life.
That's right.
And find something that you can apply
right.
just about anything.
People often say to me, well, Linda, you always seem to be able to see the big picture. I said, well, now, if I really think about that really started in physical education.
Yeah.
I coached as well as taught. So I could be at the end of the field, and you look down there, and you do see the big picture.
Yeah.
You see where the players are.
Right.
And I think you can take that and apply it to volunteerism, too.
Exactly. You can.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and it doesn't have to be in big ways. I mean, sitting in front of a camera or, doing things that really are, not something that you do every day, but just the small ways, like you said before, acknowledging people, just acknowledging people, nursing homes, going and sitting with people and just holding the hand and just sitting with them. You don't even have to have much conversation.
Right.
Just to let this other person know that you're there. They're not alone in their struggles or their boredom or they're missing all the most by that time most people have lost a lot.
Right.
And
I think also my volunteer work really goes back to my father.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I have a brother and a sister. I can distinctly, he was forever saying to us, do everything you can in the day you have, because the next day may not be yours.
That's right.
And
That's
I
so
think
true.
that's what I always remember that.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
really kind of my life lesson, I
Funny
guess.
how those little voices.
Yeah, I can hear him saying that. Oh, Linda, you can do that. Oh, sure, you can put that in.
It's wonderful that you had a family that encouraged that. And I think that's the problem, or the maybe the hesitation that a lot of people have with not wanting to volunteer, is that they didn't come from families that nurtured that spirit, you know, to go out there and reach out, and really it just requires you to be yourself, you know, basically.
Absolutely. Right. Right.
And that's what I try to bring to this experience, is I just try to bring who I am, you know.
Right.
One thing about me, and I think is applicable, very complementary to doing this, is that I always like to ask people questions about themselves. I'm not one for talking so much about myself, but I always like to hear somebody else's story, you know? And so once I get past the introduction, I find it just flows for me, because I like talking and hearing about other people's stories, and we all have a story, that's for sure.
I think the future, in terms of volunteerism, is going to be much different, and it's going to be different because young people have had an experience in community service, either in high school or through college. And I think, you know, I often say, do something. Do it for your church, your synagogue. I mean, just look around you and see what's there. And maybe you can find a couple other buddies of yours.
Right.
And now you have a little group that can go and offer something.
And I think the young people have a head start with that, because they're more, their interaction, their play has been always more organized than in our generation. Our generation was, you go out in the street and you organize your own little, and there are talents that come from that, but the young people today, they really start right in with organized activities, you know, play groups, and I would imagine that definitely gives them an edge to, makes it easier.
They have a heads up.
They have a heads up, exactly. So.
I have people that have been retired that will often say to me, well, I really want to volunteer, but I don't know what I want to do. And so, you know, you have a little conversation about, well, what did you do from work, and so forth.
Well, maybe we can
and then you, but then you list, well, you could, have you thought about this, and, well, I really don't want to do it. I want to do it on this day at this time. And so they step back and they don't do it.
Right.
But the good news is, my experience,
Linda,
they'll have a conversation again.
Right. And let's end on that note. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. We can go on and on, as we have gone over, I'm sure. So thank you for joining us for this segment.
It was really my pleasure to be here.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You've been watching Livin' the Good Life. We always welcome your comments and suggestions for future programs. Call us at 978-921-6017.